Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to the Kiali Sprint 66 community meeting. Today we are going to release the version 1.44. It's December 3rd, 2021. And this is the agenda for today. So we are going to a quick summary of the Sprint 66. Also, we are going to provide what are the highlights, what you will see the version 1.44. After that, we will stop the recording and we will have the usual open question, common ideas for any user from the community. Okay, so in this Sprint 66, we've merged more than 40 pull requests in the upstream repo, but we have also several issues, especially some epics in progress. So we are still some work is in review and also some subtasks not yet started. So you will see these tasks moving forward to the Sprint 67 as well. But yeah, you can see the activity of the group. Again, if you go to the GitHub Kiali projects, you will see all the activity of the sprints there, right? Okay, so some of the highlights, the feature that you will see in this sprint about the fixes on new features. So we are going to start with an improvement to the graph. I guess that Jay, you can comment a couple of words about it.
Sure. So this is really doesn't affect that many users, but if you get affected with this sort of narrow use case, it can be sort of detrimental to the visualization in the graph. So the idea here is that if you've got direct pod-to-pod communication or requests going on in your application setup, the way that that's handled and reported with telemetry in Istio is that it, under the covers, routes that through something called pass-through cluster. And what you can end up with is a graph with one of these central pass-through cluster nodes as shown in this image here, where you've basically got everything coming in and going out through this pass-through cluster node, which can really burden your graph visualization, where in reality what you'd prefer to see is instead of edges going into pass-through cluster and then out to the target pod application, you just want to see a direct edge with it. And so what we've done is for these intermediate pass-through cluster nodes, we're basically just omitting them from the graph now because it's sort of an Istio implementation and reporting quirk. Of course, if you have information leaving your mesh and going out through pass-through cluster where that would be an external sort of a terminal node on the graph, those will still be there. So most likely you've never seen this, but if you are affected by it, you'll see the behavioral change. That's
All
it.
right. Thank you, Jay. So let's continue. Also, we have more improvements in the area of the graph, so no runs, summary panel. So I guess that Nick, you would like also to comment on this enhancement of your feature.
Yep. Yeah, this is an improvement to the node ranking feature that was recently added to Kiali. So whenever your nodes get ranked based on the ranking criteria that you selected, when you pick on a particular node on the graph, you'll now see what that rank is in the node summary panel. So like you can see in the screenshot, it'll just tell you this node is ranked 4 out of 5, with 5 being the highest scoring node, the bottom rank, and 1 being the top rank possible. So it just gives you more information on where your nodes are being ranked. That's all I got.
Okay, so thank you for commenting. Okay, so we have also a new feature and improvement in the services list. So in this version, we've introduced the use of the Istio to improve how we collect the services, right? So the Istio is used also as a source for fetching what are the services that are in my cluster, right? And this is going to have a highly beneficial improvement into the egress scenario. So because now the external services and services centers have better visibility in service list, in details. And I guess that I can demo this very quickly, right, with one of the demos that we have improved. So if one of the demos that we have in the Kiali repository, the electronic shop, which is focused to give scenarios with service entries. Service entries are, external endpoints out of the cluster that you want to invoke from the workloads inside of your cluster, right? So in this case, in this demo, we have two scenarios when we have a workload that has defined a service entry. In this case, it's on SNN, right? And in this case, the workload is calling directly the service entry, right? And the service entry is responding with a redirection to say, okay, you are using HTTP, but I need HTTPS to secure the communication. This is where you see a TCP arrow here from the workload. And you may have other scenarios as well where you may want to define this entry to the egress, right? So in this case, you have the bookstore and the music for have a communication through the egress to resolve a couple of hosts. In this case, is the edition CNN or the book depository. And if I span Kiali to see what the ingress is looking, the egress workload is responsible to talk to these other service entries. Okay. So now these external services have visibility. Here in the service list, we can narrow filter by type, right? And you will see by type external, and you will see the list of the, I guess that you can see, right? The 3 external services right here, right, that are available. And the most interesting is that you can see the details. You can see all the Istio configuration attached. That, for example, in this case, in the first one, the direct you have just a single service entry, right? But in the other one, you would like to see, okay, just the service entry, the virtual services, the Istio gateway, the destination rule, which is attached, right? When you click into the details, you will get all the information about this and also all the telemetry collected by the source about this topic. Okay. All right, that is for this entry. As commented in the repo, we are creating new demos. We are updating the existing demo that we have, as is the case, but we are also adding more sophisticated demos that can help you to test more real-time scenarios, a real use case scenario. So I guess that now my colleague Leandro is going to comment a new demo, which is the topology generator, that is going to give you the ability to create large deployments, very helpful for stress and test testing. Let me do stop sharing, and I will let Leandro to share the screen.
Sure. Can you see my screen? That's right.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, like Lucas mentioned, we have been designing this new topology generator that will allow us and allow everyone that wanted to try bigger topologies in Kiali to do that. So, this is a simple web application that you can configure the namespace that will have this topology. Yeah, with this slide you can put up to 10, but we are planning to increase this number. And the services per namespace, right? You can go up to 20, and then the connection between these services inside the namespace, right? And finally, some random connections between all these namespaces. This tool is very simple, and one good thing that it has that it's very simple. It's not invasive. I mean, it's not requiring a cluster connection. It will generate a command to execute to create a topology for you. So you can click on generate. It will generate a list of resources, the namespaces, the config maps required for this application. Something to say is that these namespaces will have the correct configuration to be part of the service mesh that you have. And also some labels to easily remove this namespace after you play with this. So, for example, you can copy this, execute it on a terminal, and end up with for example, the following topology. This is a topology of 5 namespaces, 4, sorry, with some services inside and with the random connection that you configure. Yeah, in this case, I guess there are 4 or 5 random connections. But in every time, you can configure a different topology with different set of configuration, copy this, and generate another. So the reason to do that is for us to investigate and to investigate on performance and to scalability and offer maybe better ways to show bigger and bigger topologies like the slide was showing. So this is the demo for topology generator. You can find it in our demo repository. And also the last thing that I wanted to mention is that we added a new capability to this federated travel that we demoed the last time. You can find the demo on the last session on YouTube. This new capability is an optional step that you can apply to federate TCP services a part of the HTTP one. So we can show that in the two Kialis. Remember that we have the east side and the west side in this demo. What we did is to deploy another service on the west side, the CARS service. So the CARS service speaks of or consumes a MySQL server, a MySQL DB, sorry, and the discount services. So one is traffic is HTTP and the other is TCP. So this was a good candidate to deploy in the other side, right? The CARS, because this CARS needs a MySQL DB and is talking to the MySQL DB that is in the east side, right? So for that reason, we deploy that. And we can see here that in the MySQL node, some traffic is coming from the west side, right? This is the CARS that we deploy in the west side. So this is a simple addition, but it will help us to also see how HTTP and TCP services are seen right now in Kiali, and also improve this for later versions, right? So this is all that I have from my side today. So Lucas, I'm stop sharing, and thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Leandro. Very nice demo. Just one note. Let me to share again my screen. That all demos are public. That we and everyone is welcome to participate. So if you have an idea of a demo, you would like to update any of this demo for your needs, and please feel free to send us any pull requests and collaborate. Okay, so let's continue with more highlights for this sprint. Again, so the Kiali validations is a feature. It's a very important feature for us because it's going to help to the Istio users to identify sooner any potential problems, right? Because to try to make more easy the understanding the Istio configuration, we are increase validations around the virtual services subsets. You know that in virtual services, the subset destination is not mandatory, and you may be sending traffic to different services without specifying any subset labeling. So before that, this use cases was not very well validated. Now this is fixed. This is more clear that when you may have some duplication of the destination, and now the subset and destination is used to check any combination that can be also happening in other virtual services and can create some kind of conflict. And this is an area of work in progress. So now with the change of the Istio registry that we introduced in the backend, we are going to use the Istio registry to perform more cross namespace improvement, more cross namespace validation. Okay. So this is one of the epics that we are working, and also to introduce this Istio registry to validate the sporty services, right, and try to understand any potential of crossover combination. That sporty services is created in a different namespace but can be visible from others, and we need to check that any configuration that is created in other namespace is validated against all the runtime services that are available. Okay, more bug fixes that you will see on these versions. One related to the performance. We improve the Jaeger integrations. So if you have configured Jaeger using the gRPC protocol, remember Jaeger offered to communicate with the API through the gRPC, which is the supported way, but also the legacy HTTP is also available. So if you use the gRPC, we didn't have properly reused the gRPC connections, and that could create an overload, especially in the demo scenarios of Jaeger. Remember, the sample add-ons of Istio have a Jaeger, which is not recommended for production because it's just for demo purposes. But we detected, one of our colleagues of QE detected a problem in related to the performance. Now is the Jaeger connections are properly improved for usage. Okay, another feature or another minor feature addition in the configuration is that remember that Kiali queries or fetches information from the control plane, especially from the Istio pods, just to get information about the proxy status, right, and the data plane status of the sidecars, and also what is the status of the Istio registry, what is the status of the current configuration. We were using the defaults, the polls open by default, but we noticed that some user may want to personalize this in the Istio configuration. So now this configuration is updated and Kiali can be personalized also in the polls of the Istio is listening. Okay, so we have also operator updates. I guess I'm going to ask John. Max, are you on here? Could you like to give some comments?
So this is quick. This is just some things that we implemented to support some best practices. One thing that some of our customers who are on large multi-tenant environments, they wanted to be able to customize the labels on the routes so they can do some route sharding. And then we also explicitly now define some default pod resource limits. This is request and max limits on both the operator pod and the server pods. And the main reason for this was to allow for the Kubernetes resource quota configurations to work. We can get some more information out for people who are interested in this, but if this is something you use, we are now better supporting this by explicitly putting in some resource limits on our pods. That's all.
Okay, so thank you for the update, Mas. Yeah, I guess for the last slide that we have, as usual, we are updating the documentation of Kiali. Remember, we have a new site in kiali.io, where we run the site with better organized information. So in case we are trying to update every time that some user reports some situation, we try to keep updated the FAQ section, also the configuration section up to date with you again. So if you detect something not properly sync with the documentation, also feel free to create a new issue in the project. It's quite easy. Now you just only need to click here and you automatically will be move to the GitHub page to create an issue and tell us, hey, this is not correct. Can you please update it or things like that, right? So yeah, I guess that's it for this Sprint 66. Remember, we will release the version 1.44 at the end of the day, right? And it will be ready, available for tomorrow. I'm going to stop the recording now. I'm